Good evening and welcome to the Laughing Monkey Music Show. Today I have on a special guest, Albert Bouchard, of one of my favorite bands, formerly, but still one of my favorite bands because you were the in it during my favorite periods of Blue Öyster Cult. How are you doing?
Great. I'm doing very good, thanks.
Well, thanks for coming on. I've been listening to you for forever. And I was saying earlier to you before we started that how you serve a song and how you write a song is always the most important to me when it comes down to it, whether it be complex or tricky or whatever. It still comes down to the song and no matter who the players are. Blue Öyster Cult and the songs you're involved with and the arrangements up until the finally being able to get all three of Imaginos albums done, which I highly recommend to everybody. We can get into that. It's just pure brilliance. The composition of all three albums together. Before we start getting into the album, I do want to say, do you think all three of those albums you finally said the statement you wanted with them? Do you think you hit that point where you're like happy with it?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think that I hit that point a long time ago, but uh
But I mean, getting your point across in those three albums, like, because it's such a monster of an album
yeah,
cycle.
yeah. Well, I okay, so I when I left Blue Oyster Cult, or when I was asked to leave Blue Oyster Cult, I kind of got went into this period of like, F them. I
Yep.
don't want to have anything to do. I'm not going to play any of their songs ever. I'm
Right.
I'm doing my own thing now, and even though I felt like when I was in Blue Oyster Cult, I was still doing my own thing. I mean,
Oh yeah,
and
it shows. Your solo stuff shows what you did in Blue Öyster Cult, and it's not you know what I mean? It's very evident.
yeah, yeah. So. It's taken some. I mean, it's a journey of mental health too. Like it's taken a long time to rectify the situation with them, and
Mhm.
now everything is good. And I think that but on the other hand, it's a whole growing thing that, when I started out, I had ideas, I had ideas about songs. Sandy had ideas about songs. We did these things, and then, and when I was going to leave Blue Oyster Cult, I was like, well, I'll do this Imaginos thing with Sandy. He'd been asking us to do it, as a whole project. Instead of, what after Reaper. Like, I mean, from the very beginning, he was kind of pushing this idea of a concept record,
Right.
and then we had Reaper, that just changed everything around. It was like, okay, well, what we really need is some more singles, so that we're not like a one hit wonder or whatever. So we did these singles, and to arguably, not such a good effect. Certainly our fans were not happy with this new direction of, and the thing about Sandy is that Sandy's songs are not like anybody else's songs
No,
on
not at
many
all.
levels. I mean, the way he rhymes, first of all, on a technical sense, the way he rhymes, it's all internal. It's not on the outside. So it's like you feel that there's some rhythm there, but it's not always obvious what it
Like
is.
a sublime rhythm that you're not aware of it, but it's there. Yeah,
Yes,
it's great.
yes. It's fantastic, and so I always enjoyed working with Sandy stuff. At first, I didn't like it because it was too hard. It was like, oh my God, how am I going
Yeah,
to make a song out of this? It doesn't fit into
right.
anything that I've ever known before. And so, and I think in the beginning, that's why most of the songs that I wrote were Richard Meltzer lyrics, actually,
Mhm.
because Richard's lyrics were all like rhyming on the outside, all iambic parameter.
Right.
It was all, the rhythms were all the
Like
same
like
all
a
the
like
time.
a puzzle, right? That you could make sense, but maybe the
Yeah.
clouds in the sky, but it was still a puzzle. Whereas Sandy's was like, you got to make the puzzle first.
Yeah, yeah, it was weird. It was like, and it required sometimes required rewriting some of the words, which he was not a fan of, and I couldn't understand why he would get so upset because I changed one word. But then, with age comes wisdom,
Yeah.
and also extra information because so I let me go back to making the trilogy. Okay, so that happened because, well, it was always the plan that we were going to make a trilogy, and so we were working on Imaginos one, the first Imaginos record. This is the one that came out as Blue Öyster Cult record,
Right. And now
and
you came back for that, right? You kind of left and you kind of came back to work on that album, or that was a weird timing.
That's kind of like Pete Hegseth. It's like
Okay.
let's reverse engineer this story
Yeah.
so that it makes some sense. Reverse the whole Venezuelan thing to
Well,
kind
that's
of
what I'm
make
saying.
some sense.
It felt like there's a space, but I didn't understand that why. I just
Yeah.
didn't make sense to me. That's all. So that's all.
So it was going to be my solo record. I had a contract with Columbia that said it was going to be it
Oh,
was
I get you saying.
billing,
Okay.
everything was going to be me. And then when it was, starting to get completed, we'd had completed mixes. We had this fantastic DJ, Francois Kevorkian, who's still alive and still DJing and still amazing. He did mixes for like 5 songs, and I loved them. I thought this is very contemporary, you know, and Sandy didn't like it because he changed things around and
Okay.
edited, but I loved it. I'd never heard anything. It was like kind of like the remix, except it was going to be
Right.
the real thing,
Final.
but nobody done they weren't doing remixes at that point, in 1975 or 85 rather, or 80, I guess it was, yeah, 84, 85.
Yeah.
So they Columbia was like, we're not going to put it out. We'll put it out and we'll bury it. We'll just you're never going to
Yeah.
make another penny out of your royalties because we're going to take them all. Because and recoupment. And so Sandy could not bear that. So he hemmed and hawed for a few years, and then in 1987 he said, "Oh, I've got a great idea how we can put this record out, and they'll promote it." And I'm like, "Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, okay, yeah, that sounds great. What is it?" He goes, "Oh, hold on, he's calling me up, right? Uh, what? I'll call you right back. I got another call."
Hmm.
Didn't talk to him for another 10 years. But anyway,
Cool.
so what had happened was he had arranged for it to come out as a Blue Oyster Cult record. And they
Wow.
and Eric and Don were like, no, no way. You know, Donald was already on the record playing guitar, and Alan Lanier, play. We did one of his songs. He was playing. He was singing. He was
Yeah.
doing. He was a integrally involved in the record, so he didn't mind. But Eric was not. So Sandy said, "You guys, you'll have to erase some of Albert's vocals, and you'll do the vocals." And so and we'll put it out as a Blue Oyster Cult record. And they contacted me, the management, Steve Shank contacted me and said, well, this is what's going to happen. And, are you okay with it? I said, well, I guess, I guess I don't have any choice, it's like
Right.
either that or they don't put it out. And I couldn't bear that idea. It just seemed like, not good. It's like I put years of my life into this thing, my whole
Right.
expectation of this is my going to launch my solo career. This is going to, this is my masterpiece. That's how I thought about it, and Sandy did too. We both felt like this is the best we could possibly do, and so I said, "Well, is it? I'm going to be back in the group, right?" And they said, of course, it's you're back in the group. It's your record, so it'll be, it'll be Blue Oyster Cult with you." I said, "Okay, okay, I can go with that." And then later, like basically after it came out, I said, "Okay, I see you guys. We got some dates in Greece. I want to know. I want to renew my passport, but they want to know what the hotels are."
Yeah.
Yeah. And they said, "Oh, you better talk to Don." So I called up, Buck Dharma, and he said, "What? You're not back in the group? No, we just bailed you out, man." I'm like, "Oh my god."
Oh, that's sad.
So
You know?
so so yeah. So it didn't work out the way I wanted it. It was disappointing, and the record came out, and they buried it anyway. That's the thing. Is that for all of this for nothing? Because Tony Mantola is a liar. You know.
Uh, it's a shame because I think looking back, besides all the bad stuff, it's amazing the amount of different songwriters and strong personalities that were in the band
Hmm.
that accomplished so much without imploding on the first album. Like the skill set of songwriting and personalities of all you guys are like alpha songwriters. You know, I think that's the word the kids would use nowadays, the alpha. But you guys were all lead songwriters. There was not a lot of weak links. You know what I'm saying? Like one guy did the writing in the band. So to have that much good, bad push and pull, it's amazing that you guys even lasted all together as long as you did.
Well, I think in the beginning. I mean, we were just happy to get a job. You know,
Right.
it was pretty rough. Before that first record, it seemed like um, we were always trying to figure out how to pay our bills, how to keep the phone turned on, how to pay for the TV rental, how to pay our rent. It
Yeah.
was it was rough, and we lived all in the same house. Really until the first record came out. We were still living in the same house. So, and that record, yeah, I mean, I think Donald didn't write that much in the beginning. He wrote Last Days of May, which was really, if you look at that first record, that was the standout cut. That's the cut that they still play every show.
Yeah.
It's an amazing song. If you break it down musically, it's quite a bit like The Reaper. It's like Donald's style,
Yeah.
but
Yep.
there's an elegance to his writing that is it's hard to match. It's hard for me to
Mm.
match it. It's hard for any of us to match. Donald was the best songwriter. Unfortunately, he was also not very prolific. He could find a million reasons not to write a song, to do something else. And for me, writing songs is like an addiction. It's
Right.
like once I start on something, or once I plant that seed of a song, I keep wanting to cultivate it more, pull out the weeds and, water it and,
Well, you're also a
put some
multi-instrumentalist.
fertilizer in there.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like you arrange, you produce, you're multi-instrumental. So I mean, you can do everything that's almost in your mind as it is. Saying like, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So like, there's not a lot of, well, I gotta call this guy up to come over, and then I can just produce it over. You're like, I can do it. I can do it. It's just
Yeah.
time, you
Well,
know. And that's
I
gonna make it hard for you to want to work with other people sometimes to change your vision.
now, well, see, that's the thing is that, I have years of experience. And so at this point, and also the other thing is, back then I could do it, but I couldn't do it that well.
Okay,
Now,
that's what I meant. Like back then, you had those skills. Not now. Being
you
older
know,
and
now
wiser with them.
now I could make a whole record and you wouldn't know that it's just me. But on the other hand, that's one of the great things about music is it has always been a collaborative thing.
Hmm.
Even when you do it all by yourself in your bedroom, like, um, what's that one? I don't know. This is popular thing now is to create your music in your room all by yourself. But it wouldn't be anything without the audience. The audience is part of that collaborative thing.
Right.
So, and you go out and play, and you have to have a band. You can have a backing track, but even if you have a backing track, it's better if you have more than just you. And this is really, I don't know how popular that is.
I think it's true. I mean, Boston, it still needed a band, and when the band was
Yeah,
fractured, it affected the band. That was one of the biggest albums ever made, like in the bedroom, in the basement, by one
yeah,
person. You know what I mean? It still needed a band.
yeah. That's true. That's true. I didn't even think of Boston, but yeah,
They were the first band that did it themselves in the bedroom, technically basement,
right,
and
right,
Tom
right.
did it all, but it didn't. It had problems because it didn't have a full band, or the band wanted it. You know what I mean? It's all about the dynamics.
Yeah. Well, Tom didn't play the drums, so he had
True.
what was the guy's name?
All right.
Seb. Uh,
All right. Points. So you got points on that one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He had to
Yeah,
get
good
a
point.
drummer in there. He probably used a drum machine, and nowadays, you can make it sound just like you can get loops and stuff, and you can customize everything. I mean, it's amazing, and I do it myself, I mean, what I like to do is I will play all the parts,
Right.
and then I will get somebody in. And I always say the same thing. It's like, just do your thing. I want you because the way you play.
Do
And
you share that with them though? I'm sorry, I messed up on you. This is
oh yeah,
important. Do
yeah,
you
yeah.
share
I always
like
do.
your image first, or do you let them do what they think first,
Yeah,
so they're not
don't
influenced and you compare?
slavishly try and do what I did, okay? Because I'm just this is just an idea. This is to give you a starting point.
Okay.
It's like, for instance, so Don Bukdharma is not very prolific. But
Yeah.
if I was to send him a track of a song that he wrote 40 years ago, he's going to say, "Oh, no, 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 you've got to fix this and that and that." And so he will get involved if I start it for him. And that's kind
Okay.
of like, and I think a lot of people are like that. It's like, I well, I don't know how far we're going to get into this, but so af as I was finishing up the last record, Mutant Reformation, and
Mhm.
this is all was part of the plan, is that you know, as we were working on Imaginos, Sandy and I talked about what would not after this is a huge hit and is more popular than sliced bread. What are we going to do next after that? So it was going to be Bombs Over Germany, which he
Yeah.
said Emmy 26. It has to be what happened after the mirror exposed got exposed to the leaders in Europe and caused all this chaos. And so he had a bunch of ideas for that. One of them, one of them was Half Lifetime. And I said, Half Lifetime, that's like World War III, right? He's like, yeah, that's it. That's the end of humanity as we know it. I said, what do we follow it up with? And he goes, Mutant Reformation. There's going to be life after humans, So that was the idea with. So anyway, so I was doing Mutant Reformation, and right towards the end, I had half the record, 2/3 of the record was already mixed. We had a release schedule, we got the artwork, we got it all ready to go, and Norman Preslin calls me up one day. Norman is a Stony Brook professor and a close friend of Sandy's, and he said, "Hey, I just, Michelle, who's Sandy's cousin, sold Sandy's house, and he said she had me come over there. She said there's all these papers. Maybe somebody would want them, And so he gave me a suitcase. It was like a carry-on suitcase, not
Right.
a big
Right.
suitcase. Carry-on suitcase packed with papers, like 1,000 papers, and in in those papers is all the rough drafts, like astronomy, He wrote
Wow,
astronomy.
what a gift. What a gift to get.
He astronomy. He wrote 39 times,
Oh boy.
39 drafts before he gave it to me, or he gave it to
That's
Joe
insane.
actually.
Right, but
Yeah.
that's so insane.
So yeah, so that's why he didn't want me to change anything because he'd already gone through the whole, mishigas of trying to figure out what's good and what's not,
Right.
and and his growing his little song, so yeah, so anyway, so since I've got all these things, I've gone back and said, oh, this is what he wanted for Mutant Reformation. Oh, this is what he wanted for Bombs Over Germany. Oh, this is the extra stuff that he'd written for Imaginos that he didn't use.
Huh.
There's a song about Imaginos as a young boy. So I'm like, oh my God, I gotta do another record or maybe two, you know.
It's like the prequel albums now, like the pre-pre,
Prequel and yeah, it's like
right?
it's I could probably do three other records and call them Imaginos 1, Imaginos 2 and Imaginos 3 because they match up with what's already there. So maybe not quite as much with Imaginos 3 because it was
Mhm.
farther along, and
Yep.
he probably hadn't thought about it that much. But there's, so I have like seven songs that I've already written. Well, of those seven, I have 20 songs that I wrote since Mutant Reformation in the past year,
Oh, good.
and out of those 20, probably four or five are songs I wrote before. I wrote them back in the day,
Yeah.
and then I forgot about them, and I never had the lyrics again. And so, and I approached it like, well, I'm not going to try and remember what I did. I'm just going to write the song as if it's starting over. But there's some of them that I'm like, I doing the same thing again. Okay. I mean, it just
You're
seems like it.
revalidating yourself because it makes sense. You're like, yeah, that is some good stuff,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. It sounds really great to me now, and I'm like, well, maybe I've learned a thing or two about arranging or, or just broadening my technical abilities,
Mhm.
certainly learning how to play a little, improvise better, learning different music from different cultures, different scales, all kinds of different instruments. I mean, I went to China this last summer
Yeah.
after I'd started writing these songs, and I got fascinated with this thing called a gojing, which is similar to the Japanese koto, Kyoto. It's like a zither. It's like a harp.
Hmm.
It's like kind of a curved piece of wood that has 21 strings and movable bridges. So, and it's an ancient instrument. It was invented in China, the original one. I mean, I think all of the Asian cultures have a version of
Yeah.
this instrument. And some of them have 26 strings, some of them have 12, some of them, but they all have the movable bridges. So what happens with a movable bridge is you have this playing area which is tuned to a scale or a chord.
Right.
Usually like the Chinese gajing is tuned to a pentatonic, five notes, and which is quite quite useful anyway. It's kind of like your root notes, and the tuning is exactly the same as Western tuning. Okay, there's certain
Okay.
they had figured out the harmonic series around the same time that Pythagoras figured it out. You know, and so the third's still a third, and fifth is a fifth, and a sixth is a sixth, and but behind the bridge, there's this long piece of string, so you can just press down on that and bend it up and down. You can put vibrato, so it's like a harp, except it's more expressive. You can make it sing. So
Like a early whammy bar sounding. I have to look at describing it, the
exactly,
effects it has.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's a whammy bar from
I have to look this up after we talk. It sounds fantastic.
25 Guzheng. Guzheng. So yeah, a fantastic instrument. I'm like, I can't believe that that Asia has a lock on this instrument because it's fantastic.
It sounds awesome. Uh,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you're talking about bringing it into your writing now? Have you
yeah,
added it
yeah. Well,
in?
I tried to buy one in Fuzhou, China, and the cheapest one I could find was like $1,300. I'm like, ooh, that's kind of I'll pay thirteen
I'll take
hundred
two of
dollars
those.
for a guitar, but I can play the guitar.
All right, true.
What about a beginner one? So I came back, and of course Amazon had it for I think it's a cherry wood Gujing cherry plywood for $300. So I got that, and it sounds
Okay,
amazing.
oh,
It's
I've seen it before. I pulled it up right now. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it's actually
So
beautiful looking.
yeah, yeah. So I've incorporated that into some of the songs, mostly in the writing of it because I can't play it that well, to be honest. I just but it's not that hard to play. It's pretty easy to figure out. I just pluck the string, and because I'm used to finger picking, on the guitar, I can do some
I imagine
patterns.
if you can play lap guitar, it probably helps to that instrument to pick it up quicker. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, certainly the bending of the strings is up to your ear to really. I mean, you can press it down to the wood and see, but like any instrument, it changes with the weather. So you
I
just have
like it.
to.
It's like I want to play guitar, but I also don't want to stand up.
Yeah, yeah. You really need to sit down. I've tried to
Yeah.
play it standing. It's funny.
No, it's
I have it in here, and everybody in the house will walk into the studio and play a little bit.
pluck it.
Yeah, yeah. I had my drummer here. I have a drummer that played on the last record, and he came in, and
I love the idea you have a drummer.
of course, well, I found him in Central Park. I said, now this guy, I said, if I'm going to have a drummer, I need, I don't want somebody that can play a beat. I want need somebody who's really great, who's like a virtuoso, because that's, I mean, I consider myself a virtuoso for a while. Now I'm 78 years old. I cannot really have that conceit anymore. I simply can't do things that I could do when I was younger, and that's okay. I don't care, because I'm not, I don't, yes, I played the drums, but before I played the drums, I was a piano player, and before, and as soon as I started playing drums, I was playing guitar too. So I don't see myself as a drummer per se. I'm just a musician. I try to be a good musician,
I hear
and
composer after your name a lot, actually. I hear
yeah, and
composer
yeah, yeah, and
after
I
that, your
love
name
to
mostly.
write. My mother used to write songs, so I think I got that from the Irish side. Write
Do
songs
you
and tell
think
stories.
the stories? Do you think? And I always like this. I like people who play drums and then play guitars. You play drums before you ever touched the guitar, right? What did you play
Uh,
first?
I played drums when I was 3 years old, but they took the drum
Well, then that
away.
would win
But
the conversation. Well,
I,
in
yeah, but
theory,
yeah, in theory, if you go to the timeline, I was three and I
well,
played the drums.
I'm gonna ask the question, and you can tell me. When I talk to somebody who has a musician, a peer of yours, has started with drums and then plays guitar, or even nowadays, it affects the sound of the music sometimes because it almost feels a lot more rhythmic. And you could talk about a modern band like Anthrax and Charlie who plays drums in Anthrax, but he writes his songs on guitar.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
Dave
But
Grohl. I'm trying to think of modern people that people would know. Do you think it affects your songwriting differently?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I don't know how I would write if I didn't play these other instruments. I mean, because you know, I will I will come up with a riff. Usually, I come up with the music first,
Hmm.
and then I would try and fit the the lyrics into that, or I will try and write the lyrics after I. I mean, usually, if I'm writing all the lyrics myself, I will have a general idea of what it's going to be, and I'll have a hook. I'll have
Okay.
a some sort of thing that's gonna the chorus. I'll start with the chorus, and then once I have a good chorus, it's easy to fill in something, So, but I just put down things, and if I don't, if I don't have words, I'll make words for it. If I have words, I'll make a melody to go with the music that I did.
Hmm.
Even though I'll put down the music before I even have the melody, and then I'll figure out how can I do a melody, or if I have a melody, I'll come figure out chords that work with it. I sit down at the piano and I'll see which notes are there, and okay, now what
Yeah.
kind of chord can I put in there, or can I make a riff to go with this melody, So and it's ongoing, It's like I'll do something and then I'll kind of keep messing with it until it's time to put it out.
It's, I mean, you're still so driven though. Like, and you know this, you probably have peers that, that don't write songs, like, unless you, like, you'll build the foundation and you'll build the whole house. And like you're saying, some people in BOC would be like, you build the foundation, then from there they can go and join you. But outside of the band and other musicians, like at this point, a lot of musicians after their sixties are like, I've got nothing else to say. You don't sound like you're anywhere near that point in your life where you're like, I don't have enough time to say everything I have to say musically yet.
Yeah, yeah, that's it's I don't know. I don't really feel compelled to keep doing it, except that it just feels good to me.
Hmm.
It's like an addiction, really, to be honest. I will forget to pay my bills. I'll forget that I had an appointment. I forget that I was going to have I mean, I have
Yeah,
right there, and I
a song.
pulled it up and I said, "Oh my God, I better not get too deep into this. I'm going to forget to log on to the Zoom."
Okay.
So, yeah,
I appreciate you taking a break from your addiction. But your
I didn't.
addiction we
I
all
just
love
barely
because you have
got
created so much
started.
music.
I was yesterday. I had an idea for I'm doing a record with Fabienne Shine, and it was originally going to be a Shakin' Street record, and she wanted to use all the people that were in her last Shakin' Street band, and so far the only one that is on it is Ross the Boss. And Ross
Okay.
has done an amazing job with it. It's fantastic. And she got Steve Conti's drummer, whose
Yep.
name is Rob Youngman, and she got to play the drums, and she got Keith Roth to play the guitar. So it's almost done. She said, she said, well, because I erased your drums. I said, no, you were gonna use another drummer, so I didn't even play drums on this. These are all loops. I made loops for every one of your songs, just because, and the loops are just like a suggestion. So she said,
Yep.
"Oh well, can we get Rob Youngman in?" I said, "Yeah, he's great. I love his style. It's like, he plays. I thought, he sort of plays like Ringo, like just the right thing for the song, and got this kind of weird swinging vibe to it. And
Yeah.
then of course he came here, and he said, I'm left-handed, but I play righty. I'm like, Ringo.
No wasted hits, no wasted strokes, right?
Yeah, but he
It's
plays
like
like
everything.
Ringo.
Yeah.
There's something about it. It's like a slingshot. When you fill into the next thing. So he's a great drummer, and so I sent her, and then she wanted another guy to play bass, but he couldn't do it. So Keith Ross said, "Well, I'll do it, if you want." I said, "Keith's a great musician." So she got Keith to come and play. Well, he didn't. I sent the tracks to him. He lives in New Jersey, so about 70 miles away. So it was easier for him to do it there. So he did the bass parts, and he would send them to
Mhm.
me, and I'd say, "This is good, this is good." And then there was a couple songs I said, "You know what? I think you need to redo. You didn't play the root note on this one, or there was
Yeah.
a couple of little things that he didn't because I didn't give him any direction at all. I just sent him the tracks without bass, so to see
Well,
what
that's
he
good
would
though.
do.
Sometimes, I mean, that could be to see what they
Yeah,
come up with on their own because
yeah,
they're not thinking in
yeah.
the back of their mind. Well, this was kind of there. Maybe that's what they want, but they're not saying it. It's
Yeah,
assumed. There's
nine
nothing.
out.
It's
I
just
mean, eight out of 10 songs were perfect. It didn't have to do anything, but there was two that, and so one he fixed, and the other one he fixed too.
mhm.
And then I made a CD. I sent it to Fabienne, who lives in Los Angeles, and she said, "Oh, there's this one song. I don't know. Now it doesn't. It's not like raging anymore. It's kind of like flattened out." And that's kind of one of the songs that I had Keith redo because I felt like he flattened it out. It wasn't. It was too
Ah,
smooth. It was actually too
yeah,
smooth.
yeah.
So, I want it choppier. So anyway, and I had him put some choppiness in there, but it just wasn't enough for Fabian. So I just
Then the shop.
got out of bass just now, and I said, well, what if I play it? What if I play it like this, like more like my original idea? And I'm like, oh, well, that doesn't quite work, but oh yeah, yeah. I was actually, I've never done this before. The riff worked better with a harmonic. I don't know. I, I see you have all these instruments there. So if you
I
don't
do.
mind,
I do play.
I'm going to
No,
show
I
you.
actually like it. I
I'm going to
That's why I
show
go to
you
the
what I
song
was
and
doing. So I was doing
yeah.
like it doesn't sound right, but if I do harmonic, I'm like, oh, this is going to be badass.
I love when bass does that when it takes over the song on some level. Like
Because he was just doing like a Lemmy kind of thing, which is cool. But like I say, it didn't. So I'm like, oh, okay. But then I was like, oh, but then there's this other song that I played a bass part on the keyboard. I'm like, I wonder if that's even really possible to play on the bass. And so I just put it up, and I'm like, yeah, it's possible, but that's not the. It wouldn't. Some things just feel good, and it wasn't feeling good, and it needs. That's part of the deal with playing live is you need it to feel good, or you can't, or it's just not going to
right.
have the impact. So I figured a different way to play it. I'm like, okay, well, I don't know if I'm going to put it on the demo here because I have my own bass player too, David Hirschberg, who always change no matter what I play, he's always going to change it and almost always make it. Well, if he does it,
Well, put
he
them both down
always.
and record both of them and send them over then.
What
Send them both
happens
over.
is he will play something and I'll be like, oh, but what if you like we kind of like work on the bass part together and it's fun. It's like all of a sudden it's something he didn't think of and I didn't think of either, but
Right.
together we came up with something that's even better than what it
As long as you
happens every
stop at the
time.
same spot, it's not the rabbit hole of just never ending. you know.
No, no, no. Okay, so what happens with the rabbit hole, how you get into that place is if you don't have focus before you start, and to a certain extent, like when you make something out of nothing,
Hmm.
it's not always it's okay to not have focus. But as soon as
Right.
something starts to develop, you need to start focusing on what do I want to accomplish with what's the vibe, what's the you know so Yeah.
I hear you, but sometimes it's like there's so many different ways you can present the vibe. There's so many ways in a rabbit
Right,
hole
right.
when recording a song with the
You can,
instruments,
yeah,
the lyrics, and the production.
yeah, but you can always go back. It's like, nowadays, I mean, I don't throw anything out, you know.
Yeah.
I
Well, that's
just
what I mean with the
sometimes,
rabbit holes. You're like, and that's what I was asking you. We started the conversation. I started kind of backwards, which is I'm not very linear. Is when you recorded the album and you did your opus of the three albums and all this, and you're like, you got it done. It was in you. You exercised it out. It finally,
yeah,
it needed
yeah,
the justice to be out there. It would have
yeah.
been a nightmare if it didn't. Now you've had some time to breathe and look back. You're like, God, if I could tweak that, like, or are you like, yeah, I'm good.
No, no, I think, well, especially
As an artist and a producer,
the
it's two different hats.
Reimaginos record, I think that I mixed it myself,
Yep.
and I did not realize that I was starting to lose my hearing. So I hadn't been tested in like 10 years at that point. And I listen to it now with my hearing aids, and I'm like, oh, I should have given it to somebody else whose hearing is better. Because
Really?
yeah, 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 it's just subtle things that
It's
I
got to be
have.
you because I went to school for recording and I have hearing aids and I love the album. I can be pretty critical about production. I think that's one of my favorite things about it. That's why I wanted to
Well,
talk to you about it.
the one thing I did do on that was I wanted to make a mostly acoustic album. So, and I accomplished that, and that was pretty good. It's tricky getting good sounds out of an acoustic instrument,
Yeah.
especially once you put drums in there. It's like
Mhm.
then you've got it. Then what sounds like a nice full guitar, acoustic guitar, sounds like all you get. It kind of
Yeah.
wipes out all that beautiful mid range, and all
The
you get is
frequencies gets mushy and dark. Yeah.
the scratchy, yeah, some woofy and scratchy at the same time. So, yeah, to get into the weeds of uh,
Recording, but
recording
that's it.
acoustic
Well,
guitar.
but that's what I'm saying to you that there is such a rabbit hole that, and like I said, to your part, I think the album's done well. I'm not just saying that. I mean, I honestly feel that I would bring it
Yeah.
up to you. I wouldn't have said anything if I didn't really feel that way. I could be
Well,
just talking. I actually like the
I,
production of that album, so
yeah,
I am for it
and
is.
actually, I like most of it, but there's certain songs that I wish I could have, and I still I might remix it all, I mean, because now I have all this other stuff. It could be like a six record set, 12
Right,
sides.
right, and remastered and mixed
Yeah,
up
yeah,
type of package.
put it, start, instead of I am the one you warn me of, it could start with Young Imaginos, the mind of Young Imaginos.
That would be a good idea, though, to do it that way. That would
Yeah,
make sense to redo the other stuff and adjust it because you'd want it all to be balanced in the same
yeah,
world. I love the
yes,
phrase that says that Sandy kind of created a universe, but you built the mechanics and everything else that made it work. Like the
yeah,
way
yeah.
I like that sentiment because
Well,
it's
you
true.
know, it's funny. I grew up on a farm. Okay, my
Mhm.
father was an engineer at a radio station. Audio engineer. Actually, he was he 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 was like into electronics and stuff. He built his own radios. He built all kinds of things. He would fix everybody's radio or the radar detectors, for fish or
Yeah.
whatever. All these different things, and but he had seven kids, and he wanted to keep us busy, so he bought a farm. And what we did as kids was we raised vegetables. We raised vegetables and chickens. We had eggs that we sold and we used,
Mhm.
and then we had a couple burros for entertainment. As our pets were burros. So, but then I went to engineering school, and that's where I
Yeah.
met Don Roser, and so I was planning on becoming an engineer. So, and kind of what I do is, and kind of musical engineering.
Hmm. It's all ties together. I mean,
Yeah.
engineering, it all just overlaps. And in the industry at this point, everybody who does one thing does another thing, touches another thing. It's just so.
Right, right. I know.
It's so. And everyone I talk to is like, "Oh, my dad invented this, who did this, and now it's this." And I'm like, and this person I just talked to just uses that instrument now or that tool or whatever. It's insane how tight everything just falls together when in hindsight. But when you're growing up, you don't know that. You're on your own. You're just trying to imagine, you know,
Yeah.
no pun intended, how to
Well,
move forward with your art,
yeah. Oh, we had to make our own toys.
right? Did you challenge you were from so you're New York? Is that your New York area, right?
Upstate New York, yeah, right
Okay.
on the Canadian border, right
Oh
up
wow.
Watertown, New York was where I was
Okay.
born. But
I'm in Connecticut, so
yeah,
we're in the same part of the world there. Not that
yeah,
far
yeah,
away,
yeah.
considerably. Um, did you feel going from when the world started to change from acoustic drums, the big change to electronic drums? Was it exciting, scary, or were you open to it? Or you're like, here's the thing: when something comes out, it always gets overused and ruins it. You know what I mean? And then it ages back
Yeah.
out again. As a drummer, what did you think?
Um, well, I think that, it was, I think in the beginning it was pretty bad because people would program these things and just because it was a steady beat or it had some sort of funky element, they would
Hmm.
think that, oh, this is great. We'll just put this for the whole song.
I agree. I
And
think everything's
I
kind of like the bossa nova
I
for
could
like
hear
three
some
years.
pulling and pushing in the song that it's like, what the fuck? If you had a real drummer would not play it like that. A real drummer would not keep playing that stupid beat
Yep.
in the other section. You know, it would be some kind, or it would be some relief. It was this relentlessness that, I mean, and the thing is that then you had kind of the disco vibe of just you know uh, very simple, and that for a drum machine it worked well to make a
Hmm.
dance music, because
Dance, but
it didn't, all it had to be was just straight ahead. you know Once you start trying to get fancy with the drum machine, then it's more difficult. It's kind of better to just, I mean, right now you see I have this electric kit right over here,
right. I think
and
it's a good
that's
tool and stuff, but
it's a
but
Roland kit, and the thing is, I can, I endorse DW drums. I have like a couple DW kits, and about like whole bunch of extra DW things, extra snares
mhm.
and toms and stuff. So I have a lot of DW equipment here, and of course the pedals and whatnot. And so I use SoundWorks, which is a DW product where it has all the DW drums. But I also use Superior Drummer, and those two things. Superior Drummer has just a zillion loops, so I can find a loop for almost anything I want to do. So this is it's I've never put a loop on a record, but it gets me started. It's like I don't have to sit
Right.
down and try and play a thing and is this going to work? I can just put something down. It takes you 2 seconds, and then I'm on to playing that guitar riff that I wanted to hear how
One of the things
it's.
you're playing though, I mean, I get now, but I'm saying, but one of the things that's so special, which is totally sells the point why live drum should always be, is there's something in your playing that added to the songs. Like if the albums came out, they were all the classic albums were a different basic drum drumming, it would have been okay. But you always had something a little extra under the hood and a little this and that's, you know. And you know what I'm talking about. That I was
Well,
like, oh, I would have thought about that. I'm not even a drummer, and I always listen to your drumming because of that. I'm like, there's always just something very extra. I
yeah,
don't know. It's like extra. It's extra chocolate chips in a chocolate chip cookie. There's just something in it that I'm missing the proper words, but that
yeah.
you didn't always hear from. I mean, there are some drummers do different stuff, but that's what makes drummers excellent and exciting. There's just something special, and you did that in those albums, which made them so much different than everything else on the radio, on rock radio.
Well, that's just what I like. I mean, that's why
Right.
I like Keith Moon because he could play
Exactly.
very
Yes.
steady, but and all of a sudden he put something you're like, what?
Yeah.
Whoa, you know.
And you're
So
like, God, that was smart. That was a smart. There's one thing he'll do something like, God, that was smart. Like I was like, he wouldn't have thought of that, but it was there. Like when the Beatles writes a song, you hear a chord or a lyric or something.
yeah,
It's like
the
that was
Beatles the
simple
same
and
way.
brilliant, but I never would have thought of that.
Yeah,
Clearly, it wasn't that easy because you didn't think of that. But like, so when
yeah.
you do that with like drums, you're like, ah,
Dennis Dunaway would say, you know, I play him a demo of something because I'm in this band Blue Coop with Dennis
yep,
and Joe. And Dennis would go, "You're so predictable." I said, "What do you mean predictable?" He goes, "Well, you'd be going along in a song and then you put something unexpected." I said, "But that's unexpected. That's not predictable." He said,
yeah.
"Yes, it's predictable because you do it in every song. You put something unexpected." I said, "Okay, well, so your songs are really unpredictable too because you're always doing some weird bass thing way up high."
It also like a challenge now for you to play a song just normal, straight, throw them off. Well, that's a good mixture of you guys together, though.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
is a good
Remember that?
mixture.
Did you ever see what is it called? Some kind of monster, the
Yep.
Metallica film where Lars is pissed off because James asked him to just play regular.
Yeah.
That's
I
what I
like that
liked
movie.
about Metallica is they were doing something different. You know, it's what I like about my drummer is he has a different approach to and sometimes it's a pain in the ass. It's like, okay, calm down here a little bit.
Right.
Just give me a little regular beat.
But you got to flesh it out, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, perfect
Yeah,
example. So, like Metallica, when they did that first album they did, and not everyone liked it because there's so much percussion in it. I love that they experimented in that album. Love it.
yeah,
Whether you felt it adjusted to the songs, but a band needs to do that. And that's what you guys need to do. Everyone needs to be able to really experiment, before
yeah,
you say, all right, let's reel it in.
yeah,
And then figure out what we want. Well, let's try everything. Let's throw it against the wall. You know,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
did
yeah.
did
It's
you do that a lot early on when you play drums? Did you like flush it out or be like, or were you kind of saying, this is what I want to do when I come in to work with these guys or do the song? Or you know what I'm saying? Or were you doing, hey guys, this works. How about this now?
sometimes yes, sometimes no. Sometimes you know. To be honest, I usually start out to, just playing a beat and like trying to feel what am I hearing? What's the vocal doing? What's the guitar riff? Trying to figure it all out. And then I usually will jazz it up later. That's just how I approach. And in the early days of Blue Oyster Cult, we practiced a lot.
Right.
We'd have a rehearsal place, and we would go through a million different things before we even went in the studio because we didn't want to
Okay.
waste time.
Sometimes your little your special drum parts was the part that helped. That I think to me, I might be wrong. Helped tether all the songs together because everybody was almost different songwriters. You could peel the songs apart and have like three different songs sometimes, which is fantastic. But to put them all together and work was like a miracle, and that's why it just sounded like nobody else. But I think certain pieces of instrumentation that you guys did, and partially your little drum parts that you do, the extra parts that no one really thought about, helped tie all those songs together and work as one. You know, to me, which is what made it so special. Those little things. You pull so many things together. I mean, I don't know if you saw it then or even see it, but that's just how I hear it. You
Well,
know,
I like, what I like when I listen to music is I like something that is expected, but then something, the same but different. It's
hmm
like there's got to be something in there that's like, oh, catches my attention. I mean, Metallica is pretty good with that, putting interesting bits in the middle of something that, seems regular but some of, I mean, it's also,
I
then
agree. I
there's,
think I think Lars is one of the most overrated, well-known drummers ever. I like his drum parts because they're
yeah, yeah,
different. They're different.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. I think Lars is great. Uh, I, you know, I like the whole band really, but especially Lars and James too, because they work as a team
right?
very nicely, and you know, that movie was funny though, because after you've been in a band for a while with somebody, it's like certain things that they do might just drive you nuts. So
It was a good movie at the time too. It was very very cathartic. I think it opened the doors for a lot of bands to say, "See, this is what we all go through. This is it. This is really the real world."
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, that's so glamorous. Well, but as a songwriter, do you think you've changed at all over the years, like drastically, or you've just gotten better and polished in things that you
I
think you've
think
gotten better on?
I think I've gotten better. I've gotten to this. Well, here's the thing: is that in the beginning, like the very beginning, like back when I was 3, back when I was 12, you know, my whole beginning of playing music just for my amusement, and also then and what I like to listen to, and then when I first started playing, I did not care about vocals at all. All I cared about
Mhm.
was instruments. I thought that the vocals were just distracting from the instruments, that was the good part for me. And so I think, and in 2018, I joined an all male chorus. And, we do
Game
two
changer.
concerts. Yeah, it was, yeah. It's like all of a sudden I started getting insight into singing, that I didn't have. I mean, yes, we loved the Beach Boys, and we loved uh, all the Beatles and all the harmonies and all that stuff. And I love singing harmony. I've always been a good harmony singer. You know, I I have my note, but I can hear chords. So if somebody
Mhm.
is singing my note, I'll take the other one.
Yeah,
I've worked with a lot of singers where, they hear your harmony, it's coming out strong. They'll go right to your note. So I'll just go down to what they should have been singing, or
right.
find something different. So I'm pretty good harmony singer, and but there's just things about how things are phrased that I'm starting to understand from singing all these different, and in the glee club, the phrasing is very important because everybody has to phrase the same, whether it's syncopated or straight or whatever it is. Everybody's got to do it the same, and not only phrasing but breathing. So everybody has to breathe the same, or it doesn't sound right. You have to pronounce the words the same. So pronunciation is important. So I joined the Dictators in 2020, and so we've been playing. We made a record, and we've done a bunch of gigs this year and last year. And when I first joined, I would sing, and I'm like, Andy, singing the background parts with Andy, and it's just unison, it's just gang vocal. And
Right.
I'm like, it doesn't sound right. And he goes, well, how are you saying whatever words they are? And I'm like sing, no,
Yeah.
it's not. You've got to sing with a Long Island accent. You've got to sing like
Oh,
the Queen's accent, or it's not going to sound right. And he's right. He was right. As soon as I started singing it the way that he was singing it, it all sounded right. It was like, oh wow, like whereas whoa or oh instead of whoa. You would think that it
there's
wouldn't make a difference, but
right.
it does.
Wow, it comes down to the basics, everything, huh? You
Yeah,
wouldn't have thought about that. No, you thought going from one to the other would have been easier, but clearly details matter, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
These little
you,
details about singing. So I really feel like I can work on a vocal and make it better, and make my and I'm not any better singer. Well, maybe I am a better singer because when I joined the Glee Club, and maybe it was from the 23 years that I smoked, but I haven't smoked now in over 30 years. So no, yeah, yeah, over. About 33 years since I smoked.
wow.
So, yeah, maybe that's why. But I didn't have I couldn't hold out notes very long. And
Your
in the
your
Glee
vocal
Club,
capacity.
you have to sing at least 4 bars before you take a breath. And if the tempo is slow, man, it's like you got to really think about like what you're doing and not, you know. And it's weird. Some things like singing soft takes more air than singing loud. Go figure. I don't know why.
Yeah, I used to sing in choirs too. It's a whole nother world. I mean, that's the thing. Like,
Yeah,
there's so many different things to know, and then by the time you finally start to know everything, now you need another 78 years to take all that, and now you can to reincorporate it and stuff you do know, right? All this time
yeah,
to accumulate this knowledge, right? And now you're like, now I got to use it
yeah.
for 78 more years.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. Joe was always the lead singer in every band that I've been, and except for Blue Öyster Cult, and he was in the choir. He was in the chorus in school, and I didn't. I was I was just in the band, you know.
Yeah. Well, there
So
you go. A little different. So what you know
yeah.
now in hindsight is incredible. So as I don't want to take all your day up. I thank you for your time. Where are you at now with stuff coming out and what you're doing, and people can kind of keep their ears open for you.
Well,
Stuff
I
that's coming
have
on.
these two projects that I'm well, really three because the Dictators are working on a new record, but
Okay.
you know, it's kind of funny because Keith Roth and myself, we just write all the time. We have a
Yeah.
million ideas. Andy is sort of like Don Roser, like he's kind of slower, more deliberate. He kind of but we 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 have tried now. We're starting to work on new material all together. You know, just in a practice room, putting the songs together.
Mhm.
And so far, we haven't gotten much down yet, but so far it's coming out pretty well. It's like, oh, dang, this sounds really promising here. So we'll see. We'll
That's
see what
good then.
happens with that. It's in the very beginning with the Shaken Street or Fabienne, whatever it's going to be. That record is almost done, so that's really probably going to be the next thing. And then I have these Sandy Pearlman songs that are. I have like two or three that are almost ready to mix. You know, just need better vocals and. But it's basically just getting the best vocal that I can get on it. There's
So
one
that's
song.
two songs right there. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah. There's one song that I have sent to somebody else, a person who was in the original Imaginos
Mhm.
recordings, BOC, to do a vocal. So we'll see. You know, I sent him the track and I haven't heard from him. I should probably give him a call and say, well, what do you think? You want to do this or not? You know, because I can do it, but his voice has just a certain gravity to it. You know,
Yeah.
I now know my voice. It's like my pitch isn't too bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. But I don't have a heavy voice. I have a light voice. It's really probably better suited for ballads than heavy rock. But but rock is what I like to do. So I'll
Where
continue
would
to.
those two songs end up? Sort of,
They would be on the next Imaginos 4.
okay.
You
Is
know,
that something that would actually happen maybe in the next year or two,
oh yeah, yeah. No,
potentially?
no, no. I figure that. Well, the other thing is, I asked Lenny Kaye and Steve Wynn, both, both who are close to Sandy,
Hmm.
to contribute to this thing. So they are
Hmm.
both on the road, and they're going to be soon this month. They have a few weeks off in December, so going to try and get them to get involved in some. I sent them the lyrics saying if you want to write one of these songs,
Yeah.
I realize now no, it's probably even to just get them to sing one of these songs is like going to be a
It's
big.
gonna be enough.
They might say, "Oh, I'll just play a little guitar or something," So, so I'm waiting for a bunch of other people, collaborators, to do stuff. Jack Rigg who played on the original Imaginos, has given me 3 tracks now where he contributed his guitar parts, and they're all 3 are fantastic. So 2 of those are ones that are almost ready to mix, and then there's one other one that I just need a bass part, I think, and I'm happy with my vocal on it.
Oh, so
You
you're
know,
real close then. Okay, you're a lot more closer than I
yeah, yeah,
thought.
yeah. There's probably 3 that are ready to mix, within the next couple weeks.
Oh,
So, and I'll send him. My mixer is Steve Hardy, and he lives in Birmingham, Alabama, and
mm,
he's very busy. So I'll send him some tracks, and he'll probably send me. I send him one at a time. So, and it'll take him a couple weeks, and he'll fit me in, and then say, okay, send me another. You know, he'll send
good.
me a
Well,
mix. Say you like it. If I like it, he'll send me an invoice. I pay him song by song.
it's fair. It's a good
Yeah,
deal.
he's
Um,
fantastic. Yeah, he mixed
I think that.
Mutant Reformation. So
Oh, did? Okay.
yeah, he mixed all the songs on there. He did a great
Oh, it's a
job.
good job.
Job.
It's good.
R.J. Ronquillo, of course, has played on all 3 records, and so he said, oh, he just moved to Portland, Oregon. So he said, give me a give me a couple weeks to get settled in my new house, and send me some stuff. So
I'm looking forward to it. I enjoyed those 3 albums. I'm looking forward to 4.
yeah,
Check out
yeah,
the. I'm
I
interested in what
think
happens to
the
the
4th one
Dictators and
is
stuff.
going to
I
be
think.
just as good. The only difference is that it's going to be all new stuff.
It's good, and you'll be wearing your hearing aids.
Yeah, because
Two
the
differences.
3 had a lot of previously recorded songs.
Okay.
With Aldo Nova's "Take Me Away" and Eric's "Soul
Yeah.
Survivor." You know, Queens Boulevard, of course. It never really got to see the light of day, but yeah. And so it was good. That was cool too. But I think this is going to be a little bit more surprising. Oh yeah, Kazim Sultan is going to do some vocals for me. So
Nice. I like
yeah,
him.
yeah,
I
he's
talked to him about
fantastic.
4 years ago. 4 years ago, he was on my
Yeah,
show a long time ago. He's
yeah.
a great guy.
Yeah, I
Great band
just I
too.
watched the Doug Pinnick episode. That was
Oh,
great.
yeah.
I love him. He's
He's
such
a,
a great guy.
what a great guitar tone too. I mean, he's super nice, but he's got a great tone, right? Oh, his rig is just so good for bass.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
he's great.
A really consummate musician. He's fantastic.
He never stops. He never stops. Um,
Yeah.
I want to thank you, and maybe if you want me to come back on next year when the album comes done, we
Oh
can
yeah,
follow up again
sure.
and dive in some more. Okay?
Okay,
It's been
sounds great.
super fun.
Sounds great.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much.